Two different screens. All right. Good morning, everybody. We are here to talk about the changes that are upcoming this year for Division A. They are very large changes. This is our coaches meeting for May 31st. And first big change is we will not have a fall competition. We are moving the competitions to the spring of 2026. And the second big change is we're going to have 4 separate competitions on 2 days. And each competition is going to be a half day. So we're only going to have 2 competition dates, not the 4 dates that we've had in the past. And they will be on consecutive weekends. Those are still being worked on. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the last big change that we have is we're expecting to have over 200 teams this year. There's a big push initiative to get more teams into the competition. So we're expecting to almost double again this year as we did last year. You can always put any comments or questions you have in the chat. Ambu is monitoring that. And we can stop at any time to do that. So here's what we've come up with so far. A lot of this may be subject to change. It depends on space and availability and so forth. But each competition day is going to be roughly 4 sub-competitions. So we are going to be running four competitions of roughly 30 teams each per day. 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. We haven't really cut back on the time, which means we'll start a little bit earlier and we'll finish a little bit later. And right now we're thinking we're going to label these by color to have like a blue and red track, a green and purple track. And they're going to have all the events that we advertise. We're going to have 25 events again. Each team is going to compete only against the team on their track. So if they are in the blue track, then they're just going to go against the blue track. And the event scores aren't going to cross into the other subdivision. So blue and red on one day, blue is going to go, red is going to go, but that'll be 2 separate scores. Each sub-competition is going to have a full set of medals. So the blue track is going to have their own set. So 25 winners there, 25 on red, and so forth for the things. Now, when we get to the testing events, we might have teams from each sub-competition in the same room at the same time. This allows us to maximize space and utilize event supervisors a little better. But their scores are going to be separated into whatever track that they're a part of. For building events, and this is a big one here, we're going to run building events in 2 different rooms, and they're going to be run by separate competitions. So red will be with red, blue will be with blue. This also means that during the day, we're going to need 8 event supervisors for each day for each one of those building events. 2 supervisors for each building event. And then we're going to be running 2 rooms for each subtract. So we're going to need a lot of supervisors there, or a lot of volunteers there. And we've still got 3rd grade events because we believe that the little ones need to be separated sometimes from the other one. And then I see a question there. No, schools cannot be a part of 2 different colors. You're going to get one color, one morning or afternoon, and all your students will be taking the written test at least, all at the same time. So that will not change. Just to show you a little about how busy this will be, this is just the written event schedule. And you can see that we have teams 100 would be maybe the blue group, teams 200 would be the red group. I know this matrix here for a first-time coach is very scary to look at. But maybe, and we'll get there. This is what your individual schedule would look like. So we would give you, say we put you in the blue track and we tell you your team number 9, where you're going to follow the blue 1 through 10 schedule. And this would be where you would schedule in your team for your events. The one thing I want to point out here now is we will have event conflicts this year to fit into the time. So a student who wants to do anatomy can't do a stream of files at the same time. And you can see that based on this schedule here, there will be, everybody's going to have the same type of conflict with two sets of students competing at the same time, except for I think there's 1 hour there where there's only one group competing. So it's a little bit more here on the scheduling of what we're working up. Yes, up to 3 teams on the same color. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Amber, if you answered that already. Building events are still coach scheduled. So once we get towards the actual start of the season, you're going to fill out your written event schedule first and then find the holes where you can fit in a student for a bungee egg drop or a gravity car or whatever. Find what fits in their schedule after you've built your written event schedule. We're going to ask for no clarifications this year. All of our events are being vetted by our excellent event supervisors from the high school. They're meeting on weekends with us to go over the rules and go over the events, make sure that they're doable, so that we have successful students. And this is our timeline. We're going to release our rules in September, and that's when registration will open. We'll also have our first coach first coach meeting of the season to make sure everybody gets off a start. Those of you coming in as new coaches, we're going to have specific days for you to meet with us and talk about things early in October. And as you can see, our tournament isn't going to happen until April. And this was partly a request to let B and C get their tournaments over before we did our tournament, as we had a long time ago. We were doing it this way, but it fits it nicely. After B and C, we've got all those high schoolers that we can invite over, and hopefully we'll get some event supervisors out of them. So any questions out there?
Question, Alan, from Sean at Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we could consider in the future getting away from the idea of stovepiped teams within a school, i.e., the 3 teams? We found for our smaller schools or smaller teams like at Taylor that that ends up limiting our ability to schedule kids in different events. We didn't know why kids couldn't just cross flow across different partners.
Different partners or different teams?
Well, it's yeah, different. It's kind of both. It just seemed to us like an artificial limitation. We didn't understand the purpose of having separate teams within a school.
So part of our goal in Division A is to sort of lead our schools and our students into Division B and C. And in Division B and C, this is the way that they've run it. This is the national rules where all the students from one group have to take it at the same time. The other part we get into, and it's just it's the way it's been set up. It's 15 people or 15 student teams. And they just keep it that way. It's better for book. It's easier actually for scoring and things like that. But it's just the way that Science Olympiad wants to run it.
Okay, thank you.
Ambu, is there anything out there in the chat that we need to?
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on? I know this is going to be a very fast meeting, so make sure you stop us and ask your questions. We are recording it. We will send it out. We will send the slides out for those of you who missed that. We are working on, I just saw another one come in. We are working on how you're going to pick your dates. That's something that we're going to discuss this summer during the when Vaso has its big meeting of everybody. And so we'll get down, and that's also where we set our pricing, and we'll set our schedules. Students can do multiple events, Jen, as long as it fits within their schedule. And your schedule is just that half day. All your written events and all your building events will be in the morning or in the afternoon, whichever one you get, whichever one you're assigned to, or whichever one you get to choose. And we do believe that there is time for that. Request to go back a slide here. Go back to this one, Emily.
The one before that.
This one.
Yeah.
So if you're in morning, you're going to have all 6 sessions there. That's when you're going to have all your written events. And you would follow that blue or green or blue or red track in the morning. So you would stay on that. And this is where we talked about, yes, a student could pick multiple events, but they just couldn't pick anatomy and extremophiles at the same time if they're on team 9, and they couldn't pick molecular bonding and super slews at the same time. They would have to pick one or the other. I foresee that within this, you still have enough slots for every student, because if you think about it, with 25 events, you have 50 spaces for 15 students. So conceivably, every child could have 3 events. It's just a matter of the scheduling part. And then based on this one here, Johnny is taking anatomy on session 1. Well, then he can do on session 3, he can do his building event, come back on session 5 and do another written event. And he's got his 3 events for the day. Or for the half day. And then this one here, this is where if you have a child start with a building event at 8:30, then his first written event could be at 9:45 and so forth for the day. Some students, I think, could squeeze in 4 events within the half day. Depending on the age of the student. I would never do a 3rd grader 4 events. That's a lot of studying for them. Any other questions? Dana, I have always started my teams practicing in the fall. As soon as I get the rule book, give my permission slips out to my students and see what events they're interested in, then I can start, deciding who's going to get what events so they can start studying. And like Ambu just put in the chat there, once the rules are released, it's time to start your team. This is going to give you almost 6 months of time. And I know for Title I teachers, it's not going to pay for the whole time. So you may hold off for a couple of months. I'm not too sure. I haven't talked to Pam about or Courtney White there about how pay is going to work this year for Title I. So we'll see what goes on there. But rules are going to come out September 2nd. And that's here. And you can see we have a good time to study with kids. All right, anything else? All right, let's move on to Ambu's requests.
Okay, so do not wait until the last minute to complete the formalities. Even though you seem to have quite a bit of time to prepare and whatnot, please be a bit more punctual to get things done so that you don't regret later. Then attend all the meetings or watch the recordings. So yes, we are available to help you out and accommodate any emails that are requesting help. But the number of teams that we are anticipating to participate this year, we feel there might be delays. So please watch the recordings. They will be detailed. So you should be able to do what you're supposed to do, just following the instructions on these meetings. Alan, you're muted.
I want to add one more thing in there. Please read the rules for each event. It seemed last year that was the biggest thing for us is some coaches did not read the rules and didn't understand what was going to happen each day. But that's also what the meetings are for and the recordings are for.
Thank you. Can move on to the next one. So, as Alan shared with you before, there is a big need for volunteers. Even though there are about 4 tournaments in a single day, we would need at least 5 to 6 tournament worth of volunteers working to make sure that the tournaments are held properly. So please provide the required number of volunteers, and if you can suggest more volunteers, please do so that we'll have a bigger pool to pick the volunteers from. So, I mean, in the years past, we tried our level best to not use the parent volunteers. We're not so sure that we'll be able to manage that this year. So we will be asking volunteers from each school to volunteer on the day of the competition. And a new thing this year, inside team spaces. Yes, it will be available for all the schools this year, and that means stricter rules just to make sure that the competitions are held fairly for everyone. So we depend on you as a coach when it comes to team as well as family management on the day of the competition. We do not want to disqualify any team because the rules were not followed. So please make sure that your team and the families follow the rules so that the competition is fair for everyone.
I think the biggest thing
Anything
here
else?
is for those of you who haven't gone to a Division A competition, there's a lot of movement going on of children, and at times the parents decide that they need to step into a competition space, not realizing that that interferes with teams that are working on, or teams that are going there. All right, next one. All right,
Questions again.
questions again. I think those were answered.
So right now we have Lake Braddock for April 25th. We are still in the process of finalizing the April 18th event.
What is the maximum number of events a child can register?
Whatever can fit in their schedule. So as a coach, once you set up the schedule, set it up first with the written events. When are your students going to have to be at a written event, and then backfill in the best times for their building events. And when it comes to the building events, you're going to schedule those online, and it's a first come, first serve. Once you have all your registration stuff in and we open up the building event schedule, you should have your coach's schedule ready. This is when Johnny's doing anatomy. This is when Johnny's going to build his balloon car, and this is when Johnny's going to take his next written event or his next building event and so forth. So that part is going to be totally up to you. Question just came apart. Yeah, the video is going to be posted on the Vaso YouTube. So that link will be freely sent out as soon as it's up and going. And we can send it to all the coaches, and the coaches can disseminate it out to parents. Cindy, do you have a question?
Are we covering Division B and C after this, or this is done?
This is just Division A. We just needed to get all this information out because we've been holding on to this information for a while. We just wanted to make sure that the coaches knew that it's not going to be a rush at the beginning of a school year this time around. And it is a big change from what we've done in the last 7 years, 8 years. So we just wanted to make sure everybody knew.
And fifth grader will qualify for Division A, or which one?
Fifth graders can go to Division A, yes. It's the they have a choice actually. They could do Division B, but they can't do both.
Thank you. And the final tournament this time, yeah, it's good. It's in April, so students will get more time to kind of prepare for
Correct.
study. Thank you.
I saw some other questions coming through.
So a question from Tim Howard. I'm brand new, so forgive me for asking. What everyone already knows, there are two events, and it will depend on what you choose, whether you go to the first or second.
Tim, do you mean two dates or two kind of so we call them competitions. You're going to have your choice of just as Emily put up there, you're going to rank your choice, which day you want to come to. And right now we're still working on how to figure out whether you're going to be an afternoon or a morning time. That part we're still working on.
Can you repeat what you said about the venue? What's the location for these, or do we not know?
Well, we know that we have a commitment right now at the moment for our Lake Braddock High School on the 25th of April. And we're still working on trying to find someone to host us on the 18th of April. So 18th and 25th are the days we're shooting for. That's what we're putting out there. We're hoping that we get those two dates for sure. In the background, what happens at this time of year is all of the clubs and sponsors at high schools are putting their dates into the calendar, and then it's usually opened up to the public after July 1st to start finding space. Sean, yes, you're only going to be asked to volunteer your fair share of get your fair share of volunteers. Everybody's going to have the same amount of volunteers. Let's see what else. Mega, I can't answer the question about choice preferred morning or afternoon yet. We're still working on that part.
And if the school is assigned, let's say morning, then everything for that particular school has to fit in morning, right?
Correct. Correct. Except for your award ceremony, your awards will be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I guess that's the other thing I didn't mention is we're going to have two award ceremony. Morning group gets theirs at 2 o'clock, and the afternoon group will have theirs about 6 o'clock. All depending on how fast we can get all the scores in, all the tests graded, and so forth. And don't worry, we will have more coach meetings as we get into the school year. We'll have a coach meeting coming up to make sure everybody understands. We also will have a lot of new coaches by that time. So it won't be so daunting. Always reach out. Make sure you email us questions. Ambu looks at them, I look at them, and we'll get back to you. I guess the last thing that we need to talk about here are some links for you. Those will go out. We want to make sure if you were a coach from last year and you haven't voted yet, we have another meeting next weekend for the general VASO community. And if you were a coach this year, you need to vote for the new board members and vote on our bylaw changes. Make sure you agree with them. And if you log back into your portal account from this year, you'll be able to do that. And one of the last big news is Alan is finally retired. So I will be behind the scenes. I will be at the competition next April. And you can always reach me at the emails there. I'll still be there. I'll actually have more time now because I won't have to do my teaching job at the same time I'm trying to do Science Olympiad job. So yeah, thank you all.
And can a student be individual, or he needs to pair up with two students for an event?
So the events, except for this year, we're bringing back pentathlon. All the events are a 2-student event, and how the coach or the team forms that's totally up to you. The one caution I always give is, and the question will come up, can I send one student to an event? Yes, you can. I have never done that. I always send somebody who's just standing around with nothing to do. If somebody is sick and doesn't show up the day of competition, I always send 2 students anyway. And the building events are really hard to do with just one pair of hands for most of them. And then this year, bringing back pentathlon, that's a 5-person event. And the kids will keep busy enough. Yeah, I saw Jen's. Yes, Jen, I finally pulled the trigger and retired. I used to work with Jen, and it was always 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. So, but that's all we have. We'll hang out here for a couple minutes if you guys have some more questions that you want to ask.
So the biggest takeaway is the competitions will be held in spring as opposed to fall. So 4 tournaments per day, and that would be 8 tournaments across 2 days. And you will have more details regarding the events and the rules once the rules manual gets released. It should be on the September 2nd. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you.
And thank you all for the sentiments. Look forward to seeing you in the fall. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording now.
Mhm.